Continue now with our coverage of the Fort Hood massacre. Joining us from Washington, Fox News strategic analyst Lieutenant Colonel Ralph Peters, the author of the book The War After Armageddon. And Colonel Peters' column on the Fort Hood massacre will appear in the New York Post tomorrow. So you heard Bernie and Geraldo, and what say you?
Bill, we just need to get a grip on this and put it in perspective. Very straightforward. What happened yesterday at Fort Hood was the worst terrorist attack on American soil since 9/11. It was committed by a Muslim fanatic who shouted Allah is great and gunned down 44 unarmed innocent soldiers and civilians. And our president tells us not to rush to judgment, to wait until all the facts are in. What facts are we waiting for? This was an Islamist terrorist act, and I'm sorry if it's inconvenient for Washington to face the facts.
So here we got Lieutenant Colonel Peters questioning President Obama's course of action of not jumping to conclusions and waiting for the facts to come in before making a judgment. For some reason, Lieutenant Colonel Peters thinks this is not the right course of action. But let's go back to July in the case of the abducted soldier by the Taliban in Afghanistan, Bo Bergdahl, and let's take a look at what course of action Lieutenant Colonel Peters thought was best back then.
All right, well, the Pentagon now identifying an American soldier captured by the Taliban. How can a soldier walk off from a base on his own? Wouldn't there always be another soldier with him? Would he be partnered with another person? What can you tell us about that?
Well, Julie, I want to stress first of all that we must wait until all the facts are in to make a final judgment.
Okay, so I stand corrected. We must wait for all the facts to come in before we make a judgment. Now, Julie Banderas' question was, what can we do to get Private Bergdahl back? Listen to what this crazy motherfucker says.
But nobody in the military that I've heard is defending this guy. He is an apparent deserter. Reports are indeed that he abandoned his buddies, abandoned his post, and walked off. We'll see what the ultimate truth of it is. But if he did, if he's a deserter in wartime, so we know this private is a liar. We're not sure if he's a deserter, but the media needs to hit the pause button and not portray this guy as a hero.
Wow. All right. Well, I mean, obviously I don't want to speculate here.
Now, look, Julie, I want to be clear. If when the facts are in, we find out that through some convoluted chain of events, he really was captured by the Taliban, I'm with him. But if he walked away from his post and his buddies in wartime, I don't care how hard it sounds. As far as I'm concerned, the Taliban can save us a lot of legal hassles and legal bills.
So what the Lieutenant Colonel is saying is that if we find out that Bergdahl is a deserter, then fuck it, just have the Taliban kill him. It'll save us a lot of legal hassles and a lot of legal bills. Listen to what Lieutenant Colonel Peters says on the Bill O'Reilly show the very next day.
Okay, why don't you just lay out what you think happened here first of all?
Well, let's lay out what our military knows happened, Bill. First of all, I asked a very senior military leader for a yes or no answer. Is PFC Bergdahl a deserter? The answer was yes.
So that's it. Lieutenant Colonel Peters has just confirmed through a high-ranking military official that Private Bergdahl is a deserter. So he's just given the Taliban the green light to go ahead and kill him. That is amazing that Fox News would hire a psychopath like this. Regardless of what the situation is surrounding Private Bergdahl, he is an American soldier fighting in a war, and whatever's happened, we need to get him back, get him safely back to the United States, to his family, his mother, his father, his girlfriend, whoever, and we'll deal with it here. Whether that means he's court-martialed or is going to spend some time in the brig, whatever. But we don't send telegraphic messages like that to the enemy. You know what? He's a deserter. Go ahead and kill him. It is amazing. This guy is fucking dangerous. Okay, let's return to the Fort Hood shooting because Colonel Ralph Peters has more to say.
But I think there is the possibility that while this guy was a rabid Muslim, and obviously sympathetic to the Muslim cause, whatever it was in his mind. Okay? There is a possibility that this guy was so troubled personally that he just snapped, and that the Muslim thing wasn't the primary motivator for him killing all of those people. Now, I think we'll learn whether what your theory is right or whether that the snap theory is right from his computer analysis, which they're doing now.
All right, well, you got to give credit where credit's due, because that is the most fair and balanced thing that I've ever heard Bill O'Reilly say. But here's the deal. I'm ugly, not stupid. And what Lieutenant Colonel Ralph Peters is trying to do is to turn the Fort Hood shooting into a Islamic extremist terrorist attack on Obama's watch. The fact of the matter is that Nadal Malik Hassan is an American Army major. Okay? For him to be a terrorist attack, that would mean that 10 years ago, when he joined the ROTC as a college student at Virginia Tech, and then joined the military and went through all his trainings and went through medical school and did all of these things, that all of that was in preparation for the events that unfolded on this particular day at this particular time. It's ridiculous. It's like how they try to paint the 9/11 attack as something that really was on Clinton's watch, and that Clinton dropped the ball. Okay, some guys, they bought some plane tickets, they got on the planes, and they flew into buildings. And what did they do? They drove around the parking lot for 8 fucking years while Clinton was president, and then they finally found a spot, after George Bush was elected, and then went ahead with their plan. It's ridiculous. It's not going to work. At some later point, no matter what the situation is, we're going to find out what happened. She can't have psychopaths like Lieutenant Colonel Peters running his mouth off like that. For all we know, he got that boy killed. That kid could be dead, buried in the desert somewhere. And Fox News should think long and hard about keeping him in their employ, because you could get anybody to do a better job than him. They don't need Lieutenant Colonel Ralph Peters. Okay, they can get Colonel Sanders. They could get Captain Kangaroo. They can get Mr. fucking Magoo. Anybody would be better than that fucking psychopath. Period. End of story.